What is up guys? So it's again that time for another video, but the problem is that I don't have any video ready, and it's again that kind of time when I have to work on these because tomorrow is the technical fest, and actually I'm recording this video yesterday, so tomorrow is actually the today is actually the technical fest. I kinda like these robo wars, see?
The first round goes to Team Dynamo. 3, 2, 1, go! The king position is taken by Team Dynamo. Come on. Okay. Oh,
That's wild.
3, 2, 1, go. The only chance for Team Optimus is to get the king position. Okay.
Nice.
Well, I'm going to show you one tip about electronics. Obviously, many people says that from where I get my components, because I have various kind of components which are actually kind of hard to get. So let's get started. So I get my components, most of my components from old PCBs. When some devices get damaged, then some of their components are still workable, and you can open them up and see there are many components which are still usable, and you can salvage them from your PCB and use them in your daily projects. That's the tip. It's very simple, but it helps very much while making new projects, because there are various kind of components available there, and still if you can find one which you will need in your project, then you have to buy them from the market, obviously. But it helps a lot in salvaging, increasing your collection of different kind of components, because when you make a project you need a specific components, and you see you have a similar kind of components, not the exact one, but you can match their data sheet and see data sheet. Data sheet is the place where all the specifications are given by the manufacturer of that component. So it's data sheet. Well, in that kind, you may not get the exact component what you need in your project, but you can get we call equivalent of that component, and you can use any of them in your project, and it will result in similar kind of situation. I salvaged 2 UPSs because their battery died, and here the electricity cuts off very rarely, so I don't need a UPS. So, and buying new batteries is also a kind of, they are available in online as well as some electrical shops, but still I don't need them, so I open them up. I'm just looking at the components a little bit. I'm gonna salvage these MOSFETs, diodes. If I could pick up the relays, then that's good. There's some optocoupler ICs here, up in here. You see, this board is full of amazing things. Well, so here we go. I'm gonna unshoulder the components now. So that is always a good practice to discharge the capacitors before desoldering them. Well, see, there are various components in there. So for that PIC microcontroller, I didn't pick it up yet because more number of pins and you will get more pain to unsolder them. The very common way of unsoldering is, I will make a video in future how to unsolder, desolder components from old PCBs, but basically there are two methods. First of all, we have soldering wick, kind of a wire which sticks. I mean, if you heat them up with that pad, with that soldering pad which you are going to desolder, it just, the solder sticks onto that wick and the component frees up and you can pull them up to, well, desolder. That's the easy way, but there is another way of desoldering components, and that is through a desoldering pump. Basically, it indulges air pressure. You push them up, and then there is a button in there. Let me show you.
One eternity later.
Well, this is the desoldering. What? As you can see, this is the tip of it, and through which you can suck the solders. I mean, melted solders, obviously. So basically, what you have to do, you have to indulge air pressure in there like this. Then place your soldering iron in your one hand with the soldering pad, which you are gonna melt and desolder, and keep this tip close to it, and then bam! What happens is, just pulls the solder off through this tip, and you can again clean it off by using a couple of times like this. So basically, you are freeing the tip off for another desolder. So I find both these methods useful, but using soldering wicks are kind of simple and easy too. The main difference between two of them is soldering will exhaust as you are pulling your solder away. You cannot use that part again, so you have to cut it off and then again use. So it's basically kind of a recyclable. This is kind of a recyclable. Holy. This is kind of recyclable. You can use again and again and again. It will not exhaust over time, but soldering wick will exhaust over time, and you have to again buy them. They are available, obviously. So I will make a video about desoldering stuffs in future. But this is the tip. You can get your components, whatever you need, from old PCBs. Now you say, what kind of components we should desolder and what kind of components we shouldn't, and from which component, which hardware we can get what kind of components. So basically, if you are desoldering components from your old UPS, what I found out, you can find various kind of MOSFETs in there, also find heat sinks. So these are the components you should desolder, like MOSFETs, some op amp. If you find ICs in there, heat sinks are also kind of important. And the things you shouldn't desolder is, well, those pesky resistors, because they are always available. If you find an uncommon kind of resistor, then you can still desolder them. You can obviously check with the multimeter what the resistance is. Another important component in these UPSs are those optocoupler ICs. Well, I have them some in my hand, but they are pretty handy because they helps isolating two of those. You know, I made that boost converter earlier. I just isolated the Arduino from my high voltage using optocoupler ICs. Somebody was on the door. Well, whatever. And if you salvage components from old power supplies, maybe computer power supplies, then you will also try to find those MOSFETs, TVS diodes you can find. Also you can find pesky heat sinks, and also most importantly, what I figured out, that the most important to desolder or salvage are those inductors, because inductors are kind of hard to get, and you cannot get inductor. You have to buy core separately and magnet wire separately, and you have to wrap them. So that's a kind of, you know, they are expensive. Well, the cores are expensive, magnet source is also kind of expensive, so you can salvage them, and that will help you in your future projects. So hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, thumbs down for the opposite, and if you haven't subscribed yet, click that subscribe button below and hit the notification bell icon to get notified about my latest uploads. This is Malari, you are watching out of Syllabus, and I am signing off.